So this is exactly the sort of thing that I've been warning about that would happen to Xbox over time, and it's not a good thing. This is something that Microsoft is going to have to figure out along the way. They're going to definitely have to figure out how to combat this. Like, the main thing is that that fans are going to have to understand that gaming might be changing, but you still have to offer things that people can get excited for, and you still have to have things that get people amped up and talking about your product. And Microsoft really kind of fails in this regard with a lot of things that are kind of happen. So yeah, I want to get into this. Should be a very interesting topic for conversation, as this is something that I think some people will try to damage control. Other people, when I mention this on social media, some people try to damage control, and some people are just like try to deflect. And then there's the realists that are like, yeah, this isn't a good thing. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I certainly do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. It helps out my channel. Means a lot to me personally if you guys could do that. I do daily gaming content, so if you guys are interested in that, hey, stick around, give it a like. I try to be fun yet informative, so if that's your deal, go ahead and enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Because that is the important part. Now, you guys remember Ori and the Blind Forest, right? Really fun game. They did 2 of those games on Xbox Moon Studios. Microsoft was really behind this studio for a long time. Now their new game looks like it's going to skip Xbox, right? And they're going to skip Xbox for quote-unquote market reasons, right? So the co-founder and CEO of the studio behind the Ori games has said that the studio is prioritizing the PS5, PS5 Pro, and Nintendo Switch 2 versions of No Rest for the Wicked, and that the studio will see what makes sense for Xbox later. The game, which is currently in early access on Steam, is planned for Sony and Nintendo's console. However, in a message posted to Discord, Moon Studio CEO Thomas Mahler to Discord to say that market conditions meant that the Xbox version is at the back of the queue. By the way, given current market conditions, we might only release on PS5 and potentially Switch 2 for the time being. We'll have to discuss things with Microsoft to see what makes sense for Xbox. Yeah. Following this snippet being posted to social media, discussion grew over the studio, which made its name via the beloved Xbox exclusive Ori series, leaving the platform. Mahler himself then took to NeoGAF to respond, dispelling suggestions the move was a shakedown. He says, and I quote, "Folks, can we drop the conspiracy theory insanity? If NeoGAF becomes more and more like the Purple Forum, don't be surprised if people stop posting here as well. So no, it's not a shakedown, it's called common effing sense." He went on to explain that while the studio would love to eventually come to all platforms, due to the speed in which the studio wants to add community request features, such as co-op, it has to prioritize PlayStation and Nintendo platforms. He said, and I quote, "What our community has been wanting the most is co-op and console support, so we want to fulfill those wishes as soon as humanly possible. We're already hard at work on co-op, so people can play Wicked in multiplayer pretty soon. And after that, the idea will release 1.0 sooner than initially expected, so that we don't have to deal with the hassle of being an early access game on consoles. Wicked is already in a pretty great state, so by the time we exit early access, we'll be golden." He also then went on and claimed that the time involved in porting the game to both Xbox Series X and the weaker Series S, a requirement for all modern Xbox titles, will take more time and resources than a PS5 and PS5 Pro port. And I quote, "And in order to get there fast, we'll first support the platform that has the most users purely out of resource reasons. We're a comparatively small indie studio, so doing a console port at the quality level we want is not a small task. Porting to Xbox means porting to Xbox Series X and the Series S, and that'll take more time to optimize compared to porting to PS5 and the PS5 Pro. So we're most likely going to be doing a PS5, PS5 Pro first and launch, and then we're going to make fans happy and supply other ports later if we can. That's literally all there is to it. And yes, we'll need to discuss with Xbox and Nintendo what the best strategies are to support their platforms and their features in the best way possible, and that be an ongoing discussion." Moon Studios announced in March that it was now a fully independent studio after securing publishing rights to its game No Rest from the Wicked from Take-Two. The early access release for No Rest from the Wicked, Moon's third game after Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, was published by Private Division, the Take-Two label, specializing in publishing games from smaller developers. So, I mean, listen, So pretty much there you have it. It makes it pretty crystal clear that even though he's talking about Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever, and that doesn't have as much of an install base, that those people on the Switch, and I hate to say this, aren't conditioned to, Game Pass, right? Like, that's the thing with Xbox, and this guy knows if you don't have something that's coming to Game Pass and get a big bag for that, it's probably not worth it, to be quite frank about it. And, again, like, you can say what you want. Usually when I say this, I'm like, listen, gamers, they really, really are conditioned on Xbox to, wait for Game Pass or, get things on Game Pass. If it's not on Game Pass, like, look on any announcement of a game on social media and look at the comments underneath of it, or even on a site. They're like, is it coming to Game Pass? Like, that's the first question. Like, people are conditioned to not buy games on Xbox, and developers are going to take note. And look, Moon Studios is a small developer. I believe they're a developer that fully is like mostly like the people are in different places and they work remotely together or something like that. I believe that was like the big thing about that studio. But this is a problem because Xbox is known to not sell a lot of games, and also Xbox has conditioned people to rely on Game Pass, and this is the point where Game Pass actually hurts because Microsoft really picks and chooses who they want in Game Pass. And so if you're a small studio, small developer, and they haven't picked you to be one of the ones in Game Pass, then you're kind of screwed. It makes it almost pointless to release on the Xbox platform at that point because of that. And it's a shame because I think the game, from the sounds of it, sounds like it's pretty interesting, but it's going to be one of the things that kind of happens before too long. So they're a small studio. They're kind of talking about this a lot, and it's just one of those things that the fact that Microsoft has such a small install base is a real issue, and I think that is probably the major problem that we're kind of seeing from most people is like, hey, what can Microsoft do to kind of make this better? I'm not sure that they can do anything to make it better, to be quite frank about it. We're in this kind of world where, people are going to want to, not every studio is, a huge studio that's going to be able to support everything. And so we've seen it already where developers are not choosing Xbox to support first, or not choosing Xbox to be a thought in the process, and that's a really bad thing in my opinion. So listen, and things can change. It's not saying it'll never release, but again, developers are already seeing Xbox as like the lesser platform. We see that. I mean, the Series S, we can say, holds it back, but I also think the low install base holds it back, and the fact that Microsoft doesn't most of the time really seem to care about their own console, it's a real kind of issue kind of going forward. So we do have to kind of deal with that as well. Phil Spencer makes these decisions, and I don't think that he realizes, or maybe he does and he just does it anyway, that the negative impact to Xbox is that the Xbox fans are the ones that get treated like third-class citizens. This was has been an issue for a long time. This is why they used to have this parity clause with like indie games and stuff, which is you have to release first or on Xbox, or you have to have or the same time. And the reason why, and this was Phil Spencer's own word, was that the Xbox gamers feel like first-class citizens or whatever, and now we see that Xbox gamers are getting skipped all the time. I mean, the games are growing and growing, and I don't think we're going to miss a Madden or anything like that. And Microsoft owns a lot of studios and third-party studios, so you could use that as an excuse. And I did see some people go, oh well, market conditions were good enough for Sony to put Helldivers 2 on Xbox. Listen, we don't know the full story to that. I mean, listen, and I'm not going to say never on anything happening, but yeah, at the end of the day, there was a little bit of fallout with that studio, where the studio just wanted like their full autonomy, and they wanted to, they said our next game's going to be on everything or whatever. Maybe Sony wanted to work something out with them, at the end of the day, and that could be something that that to appease them a bit. We don't know. Maybe Sony wanted to check things out and test the waters. That could be true as well. But at the end of the day, I think Sony might learn a hard lesson, and that is that Xbox gamers aren't going to buy stuff for the most part. Like, I hope it does well. It is a good game, Helldivers 2, and hopefully we can see more of some of that friendliness in the future. But I wouldn't really bank on that. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.